Hello and welcome to the Dugout. Today we're going to be interviewing Eric King with Saphir from In the Belly. Eric King is a father, poet, anarchist, and former political prisoner who spent nearly a decade in federal prison, much of it in solitary confinement, for his principled resistance to state violence. Targeted for his politics and resistance, Eric has faced relentless retaliation by prison officials, yet has emerged committed to abolition, mutual aid, and care-based solidarity. While he's published a collection of works and now his own about his experience organizing and winning in federal court behind bars, helping shape conversation around trauma, accountability, and collective resistance under extreme repression. We're here with Eric as he continues to speak and organize across the country, build bridges between inside and outside movements, confronting patriarchy and pushing for a world beyond cages. Please welcome Eric King. Well, our first question we ask you to introduce yourself and more of like what was a young you like? We'll add all of your titles and everything you've been through and blah, blah, blah before this, but what was a young you like?
Don't forget my goddamn titles.
I will never, sir.
My name's Eric King. I'm an anarchist through and through. Young Eric I was a real class conscious guy. I grew up poor. I grew up aware of poverty. I grew up aware of class dynamics. I think that's something a lot of poor kids understand very quickly. Through poverty came racial solidarity because I was able to see that there wasn't a divide between me and the neighbor. There was a divide between me and the banks and those protecting the banks. Young Eric was also like wildly Catholic, like sleeping on a bed of nails because he's so sad because he sinned once earlier in the day Catholic. I was going to be like a Jose Rivera, like radical priest monk that was going to leftist change the world through love and compassion. And you get disabused of that very quickly. That notion fades away pretty fast.
Do you feel like you still bring like that Catholicism or like spirituality with you?
If you mean from like a religious point of view, absolutely not. I don't buy none of that. And I see it as a form of social control. And like, I obviously see the church as just a $1 billion capitalist organization. But what I do take with me is that sense of like desperately wanting to help, desperately wanting to connect with people where they're at instead of like how I feel they should be. I was taught that by some of my good priests. You don't need to change people. You need to love people. And so, yeah, you're never going to convert someone by forcing yourself on them, but you might help them grow if you fucking listen. That's where I've taken that. Like, lead with kindness. And if that doesn't work, follow up with the other stuff. The crusades. Start with kindness, then bring the crusades.
I've been following you and some of your work since I was locked up, even before I came home. I came home about a year before you. Even to hear you talk about spirituality like this and love, I'm curious to know what your healing journey has been like, physically, emotionally, politically, but I think in this case, like spiritually, and what was that like while you were incarcerated, and how has it been since you came home?
Whenever I talk to people about this sort of stuff, I like pointing out that like it's not linear. There have been times where like I really felt like I was connected with myself and the universe, and then all of a sudden I get pubic hairs and a cheeseburger, and it goes right back to war zone, and then you got to start on over. My journey started inside, and it started after a few years of isolation, to where you start realizing that if you don't give your life purpose, no one else is going to. No one's going to hand you a direction to live and something to stand for. And so my wife, like, they were the key contributor to me, like, being able to find that, because they helped me turn off the hardness. When you're inside, shit can get dark, and then you have to get dark to adapt to it. If you're not careful, that shit can take you over. And there was time periods where that did for me, to where violence that's what was happening, whether they wanted it or not. And it was always against cops. Like, I never wanted to fight other prisoners, even though I had to sometimes. But after a while, that just gets old, and it starts tearing you apart. It starts tearing your family apart. And they helped me connect with like my vulnerable side. And when you connect with the fact that I am hurt, I am hurting, someone is doing this to me and I don't deserve this. I'm not a victim, but I am repressed right now. And this is not a choice I'm making to suffer. When you start like viewing yourself like empathetically then you can view like others empathetically. And then that just like carried on forward to where I would take steps to find purpose, no matter how big, how small. And that grew my heart. And then when I got out, that side's been tough because you don't realize how shitty the world is when you're inside, kind of like we've discussed previously. You don't realize how fucking rude people are. You don't realize how self-centered they are. Like, I knew people inside that had like better spirituality than half the people I meet here. But you dig into what you love and you dig into what means something to you. And what means something to me is being there for others and making sure that I'm no one else's prison warden. Like, I never want to be another person's guard. So my spiritual healing is making sure that I am open arms for someone else. No matter who that person is, trans cat, migrant, prisoner, whoever, I'm gonna do what I can to love them, and that'll help me love myself also.
You know, I had like big hopes about what freedom was going to look like when I came home, what liberation and autonomy would look like. And yeah, I'm just reminded of Martin Sosre's statement that that prison is maximum security and the free world is just minimum security. And you had used the word earlier, like expectations, that there were certain expectations about coming home. And I think it's been rough. It's been a learning process. I see on Instagram that some of your healing has also come from, you mentioned your family, but from getting tattoos. And I'm just curious of what that's been like for your healing journey.
Just to point out something real quick, that like getting free had the same disappointment, like expectation let down as going in did. I thought I was going to go in and like revolutionize and take over the prison system. And we were going to join up and be a prison union and fuck up these guards and change the way we were living. And that got destroyed quickly. And I thought getting out was going to be the best day of my life. And there's no more problems, no more sadness, no more trauma. And you learn that that's bullshit pretty quickly. As far as tattoos, like I got a lot of them inside. I got a lot of them before I went inside, but I was living kind of a dark life. I hate those. I hate them. I had a bunch of scars on my arm from Ferguson where like the rubber bullets melt your skin. And I just wanted this shit covered up. Like, I don't want to look at my face or my body and see the imprint that my mental self already has. Like, prison took a part of my spirit, a part of my happiness, a part of my safety. I don't want it to take any more space on my body. I want to look the way I want to look. I want to look at myself and feel safe. I want to look at myself and love what's looking back at me. And there was a long time, like I went 5 years without seeing a mirror, like even like sheet metal. So like you forget how tired you look, how angry you look, how sad you look. Like I've heard of like resting bitch face, so I have like resting convict face, where I can just always look angry. Like my daughter had to call me out on that. So like I do, like I try to add color. Like I want to feel alive. So like the only prison tattoo I want to stay where it is, I have every cop is my enemy across my entire back. And so that one stays because I stand on that one. But most of them, like if I can get color and blast over that shit, I want to be pretty. I want to look myself and feel safe and be in love with the person looking back at me. And that's an internal struggle, but it's also an external one. And so I'm handling both right now. One's more expensive than the other.
Kind of in that spirit of creativity and like building new worlds and building different formations and organizing. I feel like you've talked about the importance of like fiction and speculative fiction in your life. I'm kind of curious how that and like world building influences your day to day.
The fuck sort of deep ass question is that? The role fiction and world building plays in my day to day. Good Lord.
And how you imagine the world yourself. Because I know stories are important to me and very important to how I actually imagine and process the past, the future, and what I'm even going through.
Full disclosure, like right now, I don't even like touching books. And when I see a book, like I refuse it. I have like 80 books in my house. I just try to give them away. Because if I have to feel fucking one more hardback or a piece of paper, I might lose my mind. But there were times when books saved my life. Like my wife got me hooked on young adult dystopian books. And that sounds like maybe silly or whatever, but that helped me feel safe because those kids don't give up. They have a goal and they strive for it. and they have struggles and they hurt and they're flawed creatures. That's something you don't always get in revolutionary books, which is what I was reading nonstop. You never hear about being flawed. You never hear about the world being shitty and like still finding joy within it. It's always hardness. It's always revolution. It's always power and fighting back. But it's never like feeling insecure about yourself and wanting to go cry in a closet. But you get that from books. You get that. And so those cats, besides David Gilbert, I can't think of a single political prisoner book that talks about vulnerability or accountability. But I get that when I'm reading goddamn Hunger Games. Like, I get to see the people become shitty as the revolution goes. I get to see them become counter-revolutionaries, changing their values. And I see that in the world. And like, how does Katniss fight it? Well, maybe that's how I want to fight it. I want to kill your masters, and that includes your comrades if they are becoming that. Or like, not literally killing, but killing those relationships. And so, world building, I just want to fucking eat, dog. I just want a world where everyone has enough to eat and a place to sleep. Everything else can work itself out. But I have a really hard time living in a world where I know people are freezing to death down the street from me. And the world that I want to build is a world where trans people don't have to address who they are to a single person to feel validated. A world where people addicted to fentanyl can do it safely if they want and get help getting off if they want. To where people can make choices about their own goddamn autonomy unless it affects someone in a painful, negative way. Not a hurt my feelings way, but in a you're hurting me way. And I don't find that in books. I find it inside. And by talking to other anarchists and other, not even anarchists, other just radicals that are just fed up. That's who I find that inspiration from. You don't get that from Katniss.
Yeah, Suzanne Collins ain't getting that deep.
I wish she would.
I do too.
There's another one, I forget what it's called, like Red Rising or something like that. And it was one about how the poor classes got moved to Mars. And their whole life was built underground, funneling these like mines for whatever material that the rich could use to become trillionaires. And they eventually rise up after one of their partners is murdered by the state. And the rise up is ugly. It's an ugly, hideous thing. There's no joy. There's no spirit to it. There's no like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like you no glamorization, I guess, no fetishization. We're not going to be holding hands. It points out that like, this is real. And if we're not going to get to a point where this shit's going to change without people having to ruin lives. And so it's good to keep that in my heart also.
We were talking about like building relationships or like the what's most important to you. And I'm kind of curious, what does family mean to you? And are there any principles when you think of that are important to you? Whether building it or sustaining family that you were born into?
Yeah, so I don't give a shit about life family, like born into family. All my born into family is dead except for my mom. All of them. Dad, brother, grandpa, grandma, other dad, stepdad, other grandpa, other grandma. They're gone. And so I had to discover family. Chosen family is what I've heard it called. I had a stepdad who chose me. He chose to raise me. He made a conscious decision. And that taught me what family is. That taught me how to love, basically. And so when my wife picked me, she could have been anybody. Like, she's dope. When she picked me, that gave me an opportunity to pick her kids and become my kids, for us to join as a family. Like, they were 2 and 4. So like, I've been their dad their entire lives. Family to me it's hard to put into words, this sense of belonging and security and desire to uplift. My whole life right now is trying to make sure my wife doesn't have to do a fucking thing she doesn't want to do. If you want to work, work. If you want to paint the walls, paint the walls. I don't care. Just as long as your mind feels whole after all the years you suffered, that's what I want. I want my kids to have opportunities that maybe they wouldn't have had previously. I want them to be heard. I want them to be listened to. I want them to feel safe in a world that is increasingly unsafe. And so that's what family is to me. Family is to me like, I don't want to machismo it. It's my shield, but also my duty. Like, they protect me and keep me whole. And my job is to do the same for them out of just intense love and desire to see the people I care about thrive. That's what family is to me. My family's the shit.
You said not to get machismo about it, but do you feel like that does come from like holding a masculine position or holding that masculine identity? And like, what is like your relation to that, I guess, when talking about family? Because that's what I love talking about family, being like, we're making it up. Like, that's literally the point, is like, we make it up. And this is where we do the most intense mutual aid, the most intense care.
Family is intense mutual aid. we all have internalized patriarchy within us and internalized toxic masculinity that like we've had enforced on us by the media and by other men, by other damaged men. And then we pass that shit on if we're not careful. And so I try desperately not to be the head of the household shit. My wife does all the like fixing around the house stuff. She paints my nails, colors my hair. Like I do the driving the kids to school and like events and stuff like that. We try not to have gender normed roles because that's a chain, isn't it? Like that's a guard, that's a prison guard, that's a role. And I can't say it never happens, but like even when she cooks dinner, like I have to like ask her not to because I don't want that dynamic. And then she has to remind me that it's sexist not to let her do what she wants. Like, you don't get to tell me what to do as a man. And it's like, well, goddamn, you're right. Like, so it's a constant journey of rediscovering what it means to you to be both a dad, a partner, and a man. Because I identify as a male, but I don't identify as that type of male.
I was thinking, like, as you were talking about this, like, protectiveness, for me, I feel like coming to understand more intimately the violence of the state and like how it works, the level of surveillance, going to prison and seeing how like this violence is enacted. I mean, even in the street, seeing how the violence is enacted, but especially in prison. And then seeing how that turns into like horizontal violence amongst incarcerated people and the dangers that come with that has really like jaded me in some ways and like made me feel way more protective of the people around me. And I'm curious, how has your time incarcerated like influenced your perspective like on these relationships, but even in activism and organizing and understanding all that?
I experienced a lot of violence from almost exclusively white men. And I saw them perpetrate things that still haunt me today. And I experienced things from them that still haunt me today, including me having to pass out violence. I still have those regrets in my head. When you were talking about the world being jaded, I am constantly terrified that someone's going to do something to my family. I've got 4 locks on my front and back door. I've got knives stashed all over the house. I don't trust a single person unless I've known you for years. If someone knocks on my door, you're not answering that door until I have a knife or a baseball bat in my hand. When my kids go out, my wife had to break me of this. Like, I wouldn't let them walk around a store without us. I've seen sexual predators. Like, I've seen people that have hurt kids. And I've seen what people that have nothing to live for, how little they value life. I never want to see my family become a victim. And it does affect how I treat other, basically men, and basically white men, or people that look at us aggressively or look just a little too long. Like, there's been times where I had to talk to people like, is everything all right? Are you good, pal? And I pray that one day that never comes to fruition, but it is a constant fear because they don't know. Like, kids do not know how bad it can get. And that's a good thing. I don't want my kids to know what some of these motherfuckers will do, but I do need them to be aware that there are people who do not have your best interest in mind, and you cannot let your guard down because you know everything, because you're a little know-it-all because you're 16 or 13. You don't know it all. I try to instill that in them. Also, how to use knives and how to run away.
Knowing the practical reasons why something is unsafe is the main reason as a kid I actually like gave a fuck to someone who was telling me something. If you could answer the question why at least 3 times after I ask it, because I still have some clarifying questions.
I mean, you talk about, having to like enact violence in prison for various reasons. I'm curious though of the opposite of that, of how you felt supported by incarcerated people while you were doing your time. And then, but more specifically, like, who are some of the people you're supporting now? Who should we be supporting? Can you tell us about them?
You asked like who supported me when I was incarcerated. Like, dog, I went into prison with Antifa tattooed on my face as a white guy. I didn't have support from other prisoners.
And the feds too.
I survived in Florence Medium because I befriended like an old Philly Jewish gangster. He was my friend, so I became friends with some of his friends. Yeah, Eric, you don't want to get fucked up, Eric. they'll get you out there in the streets of Philadelphia, Eric. You're from Kensington or some shit like that, some slum.
Don't talk about Kensington like that. Don't say about Kensington like that.
He's just struck a nerve.
You knew what she was doing here. Oops. I don't know the dynamics.
I'm sorry. But like, I didn't have like, there was people I was cool with that like would have casual conversation with me. But I had one, maybe two friends in prison. One of them I'm still friends with. He's a big Viking from Salt Lake City. And the other one, oddly, was an abortion bomber who had like changed his life and like was pretty leftist. He had my back quite a bit because he had a lot of play in there. But no, man, I had to fucking fight these dudes all the goddamn time. I was fighting the guards, fighting the prisoners. It sucked. So like, you ask who should we be supporting inside? Everyone. I have some friends that I made in the shoe, like Randy Platt. His name's Smiles. He's at ADX now, or he's been there, I guess, for now like 7 years. He had sliced a cop at Florence. So we had that in common when we were both fighting our new cases. Because I fucked up the lieutenant. He had sliced a cop. And then we both ended up at ADX together. So I still try to support him because he has nobody. And that's who I lean towards, cats that have long bids and no support or limited support. I don't want some 6-year-old man to not have a mail call day. I don't want my elders who were fighting cops and fighting the government in the 60s and 70s to not feel loved now. Because like they're someone's grandpa and they're everyone's grandpa. I want them to be treated how I would want my elders to be treated. So that's my push. I fuck with some of like the short timers, some young prisoners, of course, but my spoons go towards elderly people. Bill Dunn, Kojo, Jojo Bowen, Oso Blanco, my homie Randy. I give love to people that have put in work for the communities that they love and will never return to them.
Yeah, that's something I've definitely appreciated seeing on your story constantly. It's always like the same, like just reposting the same one.
I'm going to shove it down their throat. Like, you're going to see these motherfuckers. I insist upon it. We're not going to quietly go to bed in our nice beds in West Kensington and forget that Kojo Bowen has been in prison for 40 fucking years. We're not going to forget that Bill Dunn tried breaking his friend out of jail, and that's why he's in prison for the rest of his life. I won't let people forget that. Like, we cannot sink into our privilege, into our despair, both at the same time, to neglect those that would not have neglected us. Pedantic?
No.
Is that pedantic?
That was good.
It's a call to action.
Yeah. I've seen since you've came home that you're traveling to a lot of different regions and places. You're doing interviews, but how I hear it a lot, like you're making a lot of interventions and critiques. I'm curious of like, why are you finding that important? Because I also, I guess, somebody coming home from prison, that was like not my initial intent. And then like coming home, I also feel like it's important, but I'm curious to hear why you feel it's important.
And that's the community I exist with, in radical leftism. Like, it is what it is. And I feel like within my community, there is such a strong heart. There's a powerful desire to do good, but there is also an element that enjoys talking more than they enjoy doing. And their talking is often encouraging others and talking down to those who aren't doing enough while they do nothing. I've seen what it is like when people have no support. I've seen people kill themselves because they had no one to talk to. I have seen people break down and lose their fucking minds. And I've seen people fall into fascism because those are the only people that cared about them. And when you got 20 years and not a single letter, but these white motherfuckers are offering you hugs and brotherhood, there's a chance you're going to take it. And I'm not going to judge that kid. I'm going to judge the people that abandoned him. Prison support in pockets, it's the best thing I've ever seen. LA ABC with Matt Hart. Eugene with Josh. Portland with Bonzo and 1,000 other people. Bloomington. I could go on and on. There are beautiful pockets to where people give everything they have to help prisoners. But then there is also this disgusting pocket that loves to, I don't know, man, just like a leftist tradition of tearing each other down who are trying their best as opposed to not doing nothing. And then there's also like, I like keeping it real about people that kind of bullshit and treat prisoners bad, like AK Press, who put out Rattling the Cages. I left that book publisher because of how they treat prisoners. The profits from that were going to people inside, and they'd be months late. And AK would be like, oh, sorry. Oh, we forgot. oh, it must have got lost. They didn't help make the book. They didn't help Josh do anything. And so I want people to still buy that book because it goes to prisoners, the prophets. But I'm vocal about that too. Like, no one gets a free pass with me. Like, I've been through too much. Like, I've had people try to kill me. And I've had to stand up and try to kill other people, and they were attacking gays and trans inside. So now that I'm free, like, I'm not backing down from these bitch ass confrontations. You're not gonna lie to me, Sean Swainn. You're not gonna take your partner to court and I don't call it out.
Maybe this is where it happens, because this is something I'm Ohio. I've been wondering what's been happening with that for so long, because we've been doing zine to prison to stuff and all for so long, and have seen they used to run their page and then they stopped and then they had the new one, and I was like, what the fuck happened? Because it was already weird to me from the outside.
I love talking about this. I love putting people on blast that have done harm and refuse to be accountable. Sean Swainn grooms people, and it's usually young femme people. And he convinces them that they're the only important thing in his life, and they feel value because they've never had an important person talk to them that way. And then he uses them aggressively. And when they say no, he turns on them bad. And so his ex-partner, Frankie, is a dear friend of mine, and Frankie was that person for a while. And I've seen the hundreds of emails he sent her when she couldn't do an errand for him. I've seen the hundreds of emails bashing her when she didn't do the exact right thing that he wanted. And after enough of that abuse, she blocked him. She blocked his number and saying, like, I don't have to put up with this. And the community turned on her, saying that she was abusing him. And then he filed a lawsuit against her, saying that she was the reason he's still in prison. And she was an immigrant. She's from Canada. He was trying to get her deported. He was calling her out, calling her a thief, saying she lied on her student applications, saying she wasn't working like her visa is supposed to say. I was at the court hearings. These were on tape. Like, I watched them on the internet, on WebEx. And so I watched this alleged anarchist try to get an immigrant deported and sued. And I also watched as he convinced the community that she was bad, that she was abusive. She's the reason he's in prison. And he said he dropped the lawsuit if she unblocked him. So if she allows you to abuse her, you won't try to get her deported, you piece of shit? No. So anytime I meet someone that fucks with Swainn, I put it out there. If they want to take it, they can take it. If not, I don't care. But I will put his name on blast anytime I hear it, because you refuse to be held accountable. We tried. Like, we tried talking to him. We tried reaching out. Like, everyone makes mistakes. Everyone's capable of hurting somebody. We're not above it. But if you're going to deny it, refuse to talk about it, and up the heat on him, then that's not okay with me. You're a cop now. You're a fucking cop.
That's cop behavior. That's really concerning. Full disclosure, in the belly, like, we just printed our 5th anniversary magazine, and we have essays in there from Sean Swainn, not knowing any of this. And definitely, like, to me, I'm hearing this, it's like, you're telling me you saw the emails. To me, you're trustworthy. You're as solid as they come, right? You've seen the emails. You witnessed this hearing. I'm like, that's cop behavior. We need to make some type of clarification.
And that's something that pisses me off. Like, I would never talk bad about another prisoner if it wasn't a big reason. But even when people hear this stuff, the community won't even put a disclaimer on him. Like, everyone deserves support, even if you're a piece of shit. Like, I don't want you in prison being a piece of shit. I want to handle you. People won't even put a disclaimer saying, like, this guy has done horrible things. People refuse to talk about it because we convinced ourselves that if we hold prisoners accountable, then we're doing the state's job. When in reality, we're doing the exact opposite and infantizing them, making them gods, because we refuse to have hard conversations.
Yeah, my friend Stevie calls it freedom guilt, right? Like, people in the free world, they have this guilt that it basically demobilizes them from being able to make critiques and interventions and kind of like allowing an incarcerated person to act in this hierarchical way and decision making and escaping accountability. That's definitely a real dynamic.
Is this Northwest Ohio? I don't want to like talk about where people are at in this situation if it's not already too known.
Sean's community is not an Ohio community. Like, he has his comrades that do his abuse for him. Like, there's like 2 or 3 specific people that will send out countless emails for this fucking piece of shit. But he convinced people around the country that he was a funny, creative anarchist going through a lot. And it's a lie. Like, he's not an anarchist. And he's not that funny. But once people dig in, like once you've been supporting someone for 5, 6, 7, 10 years, it is hard for people to then say, he's not who I thought he was. And I think that's a failing. I think as soon as someone switches and they won't switch back, you're no longer on the team. And that's okay. But like, man, we can't even call this motherfucker out without people saying like, well, we don't know the full story. Like, I do. We're doing a disservice not only to him by not treating him like a human who needs to be held accountable like I do, like you do. But think about these women we're serving up to him to get abused because we're too cowardly to call it out. They deserve our respect. They deserve our love. These young women that might walk into a fucking blizzard of hate. And that's not fair. Like, Frankie wasn't the first person to do this, but she didn't know about the other ones because no one would talk about it. The silence is compliance and includes in community sexual assault.
I appreciate you for making the clarification publicly in that way. I definitely feel like in the belly is going to have to put some type of disclaimer with that, and we'll have to see what happens. I think even moving like past that, I'm curious of like making some more direct interventions around that, but we could talk.
Please, like, you'd be one of many who have tried.
We're a part of the Channel Zero network of podcasts, and they're still doing the Final Straw every episode, I believe.
The Final Straw is a great platform. It really is. They've helped me. They've helped countless other movements and people. And I love Burst with all the radical love I can have. Asheville as a community, I love. Burst has sometimes been open to hearing about this, sometimes been defensive about it. That's a reality. I consider him a good friend, but that is something that happens. He is one of the ones that need more clarification. He needs proof. And to get transcripts from a trial hearing cost thousands of dollars. And to me, the fact that this trial happened is enough. Anarchists don't put their partners on trial. We don't do that. We don't use the court and legal system to hurt people. But Burst has a long connection with Sean, and they have a deep interpersonal friendship. I wish that Sean would fall off the face of the earth. I wish that Burst would sever that relationship. But like, I'm not Burst's cop either. Like, I love him to death. It's just one thing that I wish would change. I'm definitely not going to shit talk Burst. Like, he lifts people up, but then he also has fucking bitch ass Sean on. So, like, we all contain multitudes, you know, like, none of us are perfect. I do things that hurt people. I do things that irritate people. I don't expect anyone to love me as a perfect human. And that's how I view my comrades. You don't have to be perfect. I'm not going to police you, but I do want to be able to have honest, open, vulnerable conversations.
And that's the baseline for associating with me and why I love organizing with other anarchists, where we can just stop talking. We can move peacefully in another direction sometimes and sometimes not. But I mean,
there's anarchists or people that claim they're anarchists I would love to put hands on. There are people that are predators in our movement. Fucking Daniel McGowan is a predator. He's a big time political prisoner. He's a fucking predator, dog. And there are people that enable him. There are people that allow him to do that because they're so in awe or enamored with what they think he was. And no one will call that out. We allow predators in our movement because we're so afraid of what the other people will say about us. I don't want to shit talk him because if I do, then people are going to turn on me and now I'm out because we don't listen. Like, we don't listen to hurt and we don't want to have real conversations. And so I don't do that. Like, you're not going to scare me. You're not going to back me into a corner. You want to kick me out of the movement? I got a fucking family, as we talked about. We need to call shit out. There are predators amongst us. And if they won't do the right thing, then if I see them, it's okay to smack them in the face. Like, you have now made yourself, you have taken yourself out of the conversation realm. And if there's no more talking and there's no more avoiding you, then the only thing left is to get you to a place where I feel comfortable. And I'm not saying I'm going to slap Dan. Like, that's not what I'm saying. That's just an example. But there's dudes like that who are straight bitches. Like, there are hoes like that will talk behind your back, that will try to get you kicked out of the movement. Like, they tried to get my book unpublished by PM Press because they thought I was going to write about them. Like, they went to my publisher to cry without ever reading a single page, to cry that I was being divisive in the movement by talking bad about them, as if they are the movement. And what I was saying was, there are people who have hurt me. I didn't even say anyone's names, but that's the sort of coward shit they're on, to where instead of talking to you vulnerably, we'll go and try to get you fired, try to get you kicked out, try to get you isolated. That's what they did to Eric McDavid. That's what they do to a lot of people. That's what they did to Nicole. I don't know if you guys are familiar with political prisoners. These are my friends. And I watched them get isolated because they dared to speak up against predators. And so I will speak up. And if you don't like it, come see me. Motherfuckers. I'm not even tough. Like, that's the thing. Like, they could probably beat my ass.
But that's not the point, though, right?
That's not the point. The point is be kind. The point is if you have a problem, talk with your comrades. If you're going to my publisher, you're a bitch.
Well, I see a lot of lack of that whole conversation. And even like when people try to have those sort of formations, like it's still like a very guilt-driven process in a way. I'm thinking about my time in some of like those anarchist spaces that are like more earth firsty, where it's like attempting accountability. It's like at the end of the day, it's going to be, we're just going to have to like end the conversation and get physical about it because we actually have no accountability structure, output, or feasibility, but we're like the movement or like there's this thing.
Let me say it in a way that like you seem to be backpedaling away from. There are popular white people in these movements that gain like a little movement fame. And if you try critiquing them in any single way, then you get isolated and kicked out. So then people will avoid doing it. You get rid of Rebecca Rubin, Jake Conroy, Josh Harper, and Nicole, that entire movement's a bunch of fucking egotistical predators. It's a personality cult, and we allow that to happen within anarchism, within animal rights, within earth rights. We allow that to happen, these cults of personality, to where now they're gods.
And it's all insular. I think that's like the conversation about even any sort of what happened gets insular, because I'm thinking of just like, oh, we don't want to let this person come to the gathering because they're a white person with dreadlocks. Well, if we see them, at the end of the day, what's going to happen is we're just going to cut their locks if they come, or we're going to let them out. But there's like a whole other contextual and then a whole conversation. And it just has to be this whole obfuscation of any sort of conversation, any sort of.
Great way of putting it. And like when we say confrontation, it doesn't have to be bad. It doesn't have to be a fight. It can be a discussion. It can be just an honest discussion. And that's where the left has always failed. Even when Emma Goldman was around, Jost, or however you say that German asshole's name, was still gossiping about her behind her back. It's just like we fail this way because we don't see each other as people. We still commodify each other. And as soon as you're not valuable to me, I now can throw you away. And we've got to chop that down if we're ever going to have an anarchist society.
Right. It's the structure that is causing us to be so violent towards each other in so many ways. And I guess to kind of pivot a little bit, I'm curious of like how you're seeing like the carceral state expand under Trump. Yeah. And like what it's doing to people.
By the way, I see this as 100% expansion of just what Bush and Obama were doing. They tested these waters with Haitians and Cubans in Guantanamo, and they tested them with the quote-unquote jihadis that they never charged, just left them in there for decades. And so now they're doing it to black and brown people in America. And then after that, it's going to be leftists in America when we don't stop them now. They've been doing this, and we turn a blind eye all the time. When we never hear from the people in the alligator concentration camp again, it's just more of us living our comfortable lives instead of putting in that real work, I guess. I don't know. I do it too, but it's terrifying. It is expanding, and it's expanding in terrifying ways. I see people get angry, which I love. I see people get afraid, which I love. You should be afraid. We should be angry. We should be sad. I see lots of mobilization in ways that make people feel good, which is fine. And then I see people fighting ICE, which is great. I see people putting their lives on the line and their freedom on the line for those that they don't know, which is great. I want that. I wish, like, Jake Conroy was part of Shack 7, and those dudes led a campaign to destroy the financial infrastructure of the animal destruction movement. These motherfuckers killing and testing on animals. Shack hurt them in the wallet. We don't need to blow up your building or do a sit-in. We're going to hurt you with your investors. And that's shut down that industry for a long time. And I think that is the direction that people haven't gone yet with the industrial complex. Like, we could have been doing this as soon as private jails opened, or prisons even. As soon as we stop the money flow, hurt the companies that invest in them, hurt the companies that use their businesses, hurt the shareholders. As soon as we disrupt the financial flow, we can shut these industries down because we exist within capital. But right now, there's a lot of anger and there's a lot of posturing and a lot of displays of frustration. But I do not see the tactical awareness to hurt the people that are making money from this. And that's what I hope that we will see, because our movement's creative. It's beautiful. It's clever. They've got great ideas and great heart and bravery and empathy throughout the years. And that's why I'm just so in love with the radical, like, liberation movements. I just hope we add an additional tactic of putting in that work to hurt them where it counts.
How is prison organizing connected to all this stuff that you're talking about?
You mean organizing within prison?
No, just period. Like, how is organizing within prisons, through prisons, over the walls?
Oh, yeah. What we see about the best sort of support I've ever seen is like inside-outside support, to where people on the outside are going to do work, we're going to do work inside, and then combined, we can lift people out of jails and out of prisons. We can make real projects happen that maybe one day can change the world. That's the structure of mutual aid and not having hierarchy within movements. That's the structure of, you're going to help me, I'm going to help you, and together we're going to do something beautiful. The way that can work in the free world is not having sectarianism and just having a goal of shutting the shit down. It can't be like, you're a communist, I'm a socialist, so we can't work together. Just like on the inside, it can't be you're black, I'm white, so we're divided. We have to remove these little nitpicking divisions so that we can form a united front and have all of us fighting from different tactics together as one fist. And that's the way I see it in prison, honestly. Like, we'll go on the hunger strikes, we'll go on the work strikes. And then on the outside, you have to bring awareness and you have to blockade the cards. You have to make it where they can't come to work. Now, all of a sudden, we're really doing something against these prisons. We need to see every single tactic available if we're going to do.
One thing I've been thinking a lot about the past couple months is been connecting a lot more with Michael Kimball out of Alabama. And one thing he's talked about is we need to move on from the strikes. They move. There's so much money moving out here, not moving on from the strikes like they're not useful, but like there's so much things to still do on the outside. There's so much people moving money, like the Free Alabama movement campaign, the McDonald's ones that they've been doing of shutting some of them down at some points, but now they're moving a bit differently now.
Just on a side note, like I hate that when prisoners need change, like they have to sacrifice their bodies. There's groups that like kind of force or like manipulate prisoners into hunger strikes, into sit-ins, or they won't help them because it's not glamorous, basically. And so I would like to see that change drastically, because like prisoners shouldn't have to put their lives on the line to get fucking extra food or get more time at rec. There's enough media and there's enough human power on the outside to where, like you said, like, let's diversify. We don't have to just do one tactic, one strike. Sorry, we tried. Like, we can put real pressure on the money.
Their board meetings are outside.
We have every advantage out here. We have every tool. We have every source of information. If we don't use it, like, we're being kind of lazy, and we wouldn't want someone to be lazy for us.
You're talking about how like prison organizing is creating certain systems and infrastructure of non-hierarchy, consent-based coalitional building towards a united front. I'm curious, do you see you talk about the necessity of building a united front. Do you see people doing that? What are some of the first steps for that? Like, where are we at with the united front? What should that look like? Talk to me about it.
So am I answering that question now, or?
Yeah.
Don't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Is there a united front? I wish. I feel like there is a desperate desire for people to do something beautiful. And I see groups around the country and around the world that I hear from that are thriving to put away any of the small things and build something that can actually win. And there's divisiveness. Maybe they consider me divisive for calling out hurting people. Is the united front there? No, because we're fighting 1,000 different revolutions, and not all of them link up. So like not all of us are fighting for the same united thing. I do see people that want abolition. I see people that want to see fascists gone. And that's the basics. Like that's the foundation for something united. And I hope we get there.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that beautiful world.
As a militant, like what recommendations or things do you see for the different above and below ground and different tactics finding unity or any synthesis either around anti-fascism or creating new formations to just coordinate, like you were saying, like just shut shit down? Like, what are some of you were saying like non-sectarianism, the non-hierarchical things, but are there like any recommendations for like putting that shit into practice that you recommend?
Like we need, in my mind, like I'm not an expert, like I got caught. In my mind, we need to have more chances to hear other people's ideas and then to give those ideas a chance. I think that a lot of people feel isolated because they think they're not a part of it. They feel as if there's that group and I think it's cool, but like I don't belong there. I think we need to do much more outreach of like letting people know that this movement is a family and you're not a second cousin. You are with us. I don't feel as if we do enough to diversify tactics or the color of people. The anarchist movement is white as shit. Like it's basically Delaware. There's like 2% black and then the rest is me. And I think that's important. We need to embrace Hispanic anarchism, black anarchism, queer anarchism. We need to like listen and implement these ideas. And then, as you said, as far as putting into practice, do it. Fucking do it. If you want to shut down the prison system, get a bunch of friends and have your ideas, your affinity group, and go do it. I think that's another thing that far right extremists almost get right, as where they're like, I want to do this. It's going to hurt them. I'm going to do it. Like they don't need permission. And like neither do we. Like affinity groups can act on their own and they should act on their own. The cats that attacked the ICE center recently, I don't care if there was a false flag or not. Like I don't care. That's like the gossip. They weren't getting permission and like, what do you guys think of this? Like go to your action. Go act according to your ethics. And those ethics should revolve around love and empathy or hate for the enemy.
Yeah. Speaking of which, support the Dallas-Fort Worth folks. You know, they got the Give, Send, Go.
I was just seeing this post from Ventura County. They're VC defenders. They've been out there going hard every day, tracking ICE, like tracking ICE consistently, following them, stopping them, blocking them, getting hit with rubber bullets, gas, like going hard. And I was just like really inspired. It was like a post where the guy's like talking about it, like talking about what they're doing and who's behind it, right? And he's talking about like mothers, just regular people, like old people. He says like riding around their little Honda Fits, chasing ICE agents down. And it's like, yeah, like when everybody starts getting involved and feels connected in this way. So I think there is some inspiration, but definitely not a built united front.
No, and there's like 1,000 ways to fight ICE. Like, and there's 1,000 fronts we can take. We need hackers back. We need them back bad. Like, who are these people? Who is financing them? Where do they live? Who are their families? What were their other jobs? Because most of them, I think, are like probably January 6 people or cops on their off days. Like, let's name them, shame them, and make life difficult for them. Let's hurt the money. Let's do the blockades like we're seeing. Let's do the tangible fighting. Let's do underground things. Let's do outreach. Like, let's try to bring in some of these progressive liberals who are just a little too soft. Let's make them a little less soft or get their ideas too. There's 1,000 ways to fight this fight. And like, I embrace every one of them. And we need to be, I just feel like that's the ticket. Like, have the grandmas up there, have the people in Portland battling 12 straight days, have the Latinos like throwing bricks at them as they try to drive through LA. We need all this stuff. And hackers, please show up.
And this is actually a long anarchist tradition of having our anarchist militants as paralegals. And would you like to talk about that work and what you do with Bread and Roses? Yeah, I love all that you're getting done.
So Bread and Roses battles on multiple fronts. Bread and Roses is a trans-led legal center. Z. Williams and Erica Unger, those are the two directors. And they hired me while I was in prison. They fight on a lot of fronts. They fight in legislative battles. Like they got the Trans Bill of Rights passed in Denver or in Colorado, not even in Denver, in Colorado. Stuff like that. They go to lawmakers and they bully them. They do the big protests. They do the marches. And then we also, like we've got a trial coming up right now for a dude for a double homicide he's not illegal for. I can't say names or nothing, but like we are fighting on every front in this liberation struggle. And so like I get to learn how to be a paralegal, how to organize discovery, how to make things right, how to learn from people that have been doing this longer than me. And then I also get to see the determination of how you get in a lawmaker's face and demand justice, demand action, demand accountability, and organize people to fight against it. It's every front. As anarchists, I know it's stupid to say like, let's get a law passed, but every single avenue needs to be strode down in my mind. And as long as we exist in a world with laws, we need to try to use them to our advantage while we're breaking them. We see the far right do that, and it works. It works like a charm. And not all their tactics are bad, even though their views are heinous. We can't neglect certain aspects of this fight as if we're above it. We're not above it. Like if I was above it, like I wouldn't fight to keep people out of prison because prison should be obsolete. So therefore, I'm not going to acknowledge its existence and I'm not going to organize their discovery. Like that's bullshit. That's abandoning people. I feel every single chance we've got to fight them, we need to take it.
You mentioned Bread and Roses. What other projects or collectives or books should people keep an eye on?
People should be fucking with Midwest Books Through Bars stuff out of Chicago. They've got like a warehouse industry of 100% volunteers to where they are doing nothing but sending books, sending letters, sending birthday cards, keeping track of who can receive what, who responded, who didn't respond. They dedicate their entire lives to this. So I honor, I don't know if I can security culture say their names, but my like Jeremy, Elisa, Jason, the entire crew out there, almost all of them are ex-prisoners. They fight on every front, and that's their above ground fight. And I honor that. Del Pueblo Law, like out here in Denver, the Trans Protection Party out in Kansas City, training people how to use guns, training people how to fight, training people how to do mutual aid, training people how to combat the police, how to get away. Like there's groups like that all over the country that I just think are so inspiring. I think they, in their little pockets, are leading the way about how we should all move as a community. Like you see No Bonzo up in Portland, and they are organizing potlucks. They're organizing movie nights. They're organizing game nights to raise money for prisoners, to raise awareness for their local people, their political people, and then complete strangers. You see groups like Black and Pink just fighting for queer prisoners. They don't care what you're in prison for. They don't want you to get raped or killed in prison. Things like this, things like In the Belly, organizations like Jericho where they're still functioning. All these microcosms of hope are what we need to expand upon, these ideas. Like we need to see what they're doing, what's working, and add it to our repertoire, not chop away from it, not take from it, and not mimic it. Add to it and expand from it. Like the cats in Eugene they're dedicated. I could go on and on about these different little groups, but when I see them, I melt with tears because I see that's the future. Like that's our hope, is people that are really committed to expanding the liberation struggle, not blocking it in to match our little definition of it. They're not gatekeeping. They're not saying this is our thing, you can't do it. They're saying this is our thing, we should all do it, and teach me and I'll teach you, and together we'll grow, and hopefully we'll chop this motherfucker down. So read Round in the Cages also. It still is the most amazing book. Read my book, A Clean Hell. Read that shit if you want to learn about supermax prisons, how they destroy and how we can defeat them.
And when's that come out?
That comes out, I think it's coming out, we push it forward to September. And so there's no books about winning in federal trial. There's no books about supermax prisons. Like Luigi's going to be an ADX. Like, let's be real. If he gets found guilty, he's going to ADX. So like, there's no books about these places. There's just the state's definition of them. And we cannot let the state define what torture is. So I'd recommend those two books. And then our elders, read David Gilbert, read Susan Rosenberg, read Laura Whitehorn, read these people. Like, read about Hispanics fighting, about native people fighting for their dignity in their land. Let's take in these struggles and grow together with them.
Being an anarchist, working in legal spaces, and like
so empowering.
Because that's what I'm curious. Because like right now, I'm doing a deep study on Martin Sastre, folks that are like doing jailhouse luring and using it as a state. Because one thing I hate about part of the anarchist movement is that we hate the state, so we ignore it, and it's mind-numbingly okay, whatever, and on to the next. So I'm kind of curious, what are some practices or you think that keep you through the work, or like what makes you find, like, what do you find empowering?
I had my second case and I took it to trial and won. Like, I was treated really bad by part of my legal team, and I never wanted someone else to go through that again. Even though we won, like, there was still a lot of indignity. I saw the desperation for people that care about beating the system to be involved in beating the system. We can't be like, I hate cancer, so I'm not going to take medicine. Like, that doesn't make sense. Sometimes we have to fight within this system. And so learning about paralegaling, learning about laws, learning about discovery, learning about what they're allowed to do, what they're not allowed to do, learning about how to file motions, learning about what a motion does. Like, that shit, it makes me feel more equipped to help people. And then, like, I get to go into jails. Like, I visit people locked up in jails, and I get to talk to them. I get to hear their stories. In trials, I get to talk to their moms, like their weeping moms or sisters or friends. I get to be a voice that has been where they're at, and I can give them at least a little hope that their life's not over. It doesn't have to be over. And also a little something to cry to. Like, it does hurt, and it's okay to cry. Like, that is empowering. It is empowering to walk into a courtroom and sit behind the desk, not in the bleachers, in the desk, and know that they can't fucking touch you. You're not going to remove me. This judge is not going to sentence me to prison. And my boss in that aspect is Erica. It goes, like, it feels like a fight, like a real fight. And there is a lot of, like, countless amount of hours that go into it. And you feel like you put your heart and soul into it. Like, this matters. It matters that this person is facing time in prison, no matter how short or how long. It matters that they're in jail and can't hug their families. Like, this shit matters on a micro and macro level. And that's the way I view it. Every time I make a folder in someone's discovery, I feel elated. Every time I watch my boss Z yell at a legislator for not getting justice for a murdered trans woman named Jax, I get elated. We have to fight them where they're at, and we have to push them to where we want them to be. If we tear down the system tomorrow, great. But until we do, we need to make it as safe as possible for as many people as possible. Whatever. I get lectured about this shit all the time, and I don't care. People that have never been in prison tell me you shouldn't fight for prison reform because it just advocates the state. And I think it's not fighting for reform. It's fighting to make sure my homies have something to fucking eat. It's making sure that my friends in ADX that have been there for 25 years actually get mail. Yeah, if that's reform, then fine. I want them to suffer as little as possible while we're fighting to get them out and shut down the system. I don't want my friends to die in prison. I don't want my friends to kill themselves in prison. So that's the same way I feel about these courts. While they're here, I want to fight to win. That's my motto. Let's fight to fucking win this thing. And that's the avenue we have to go down right now. Unless you're in the underground, and then God bless you. Keep putting in that work. I'm on probation. I'm not doing shit underground.
No, you talked about like reform and just like utilizing like every avenue in this fight, which I think is different than the other type of reform that just seeks to like create a kinder, gentler prison for the sake of expanding prison and prison and like
liberal reform.
Sure. And like when I think about reform, it's like I'm thinking like, is it going to create the grounds to do revolutionary organizing, right? Like, is it survival pending revolution? Is that what the reform is for survival? Because if it is, then I think it's necessary to survive, right? Like, and it is necessary that until we are able to shut the prisons down, that we're making sure our people are surviving in there. Are you a certified paralegal yet?
You don't have to be in Denver. That certification really doesn't do dick.
Right.
Maybe some pretentious law firms might need it, but I got hired, like our public defender's office basically has an off branch for people that are like have conflicts of interest. And so we handle the conflicts of interest. And so they hired me as a legal assistant, do 6 or 7 months practical work, then become a legal assistant too, do 6 more months of like learning, you're developing, and then you get rehired as a paralegal. And so now I've got practical experience. This is where I don't need to stay. I don't need the state's punk ass certificate. I have these skills, and people gave me a chance. And if more lawyers gave more people chances, we could maybe see something good there.
Organizing with lawyers, man, that's a whole conversation. I mean, because you have to deal with such a range of it. I've done it from a certain range, other side of supporting people who have done direct actions, dealing with,
You would be stunned at the amount of radicalism within the lawyer community in Denver. It has shocked me beyond belief that there's even a pinch, like a freckle of radicalism here. And I'd argue it's like 30% of them. I've met like 20 different lawyers that are like, yeah, fuck these cops, fuck this government, let's burn this prison down. But they're going to do it by freeing enough people to where now we can force it down, I guess. I don't know how to push that forward, but that's their fight. And I honor people who are fighting for us inside.
There's a role for lawyers, and no one's going to organize the lawyers better than the lawyers.
I wish there was more radical lawyers, I'll tell you that. There is a deficit. There is gatekeepers over in Oregon. There's gatekeepers over in other place, and then there's sprinkles of them throughout the community. But like, imagine if 100 anarchists decided like, we're going to fight this. We're going to be radical lawyers. And then they could train other paralegals. And then they could train other paralegals. And now all of a sudden we got this web just expanding of radical lawyerism and just how much that could help people.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Because there's so few, and not even just so few, like so few radical lawyers with like real trial experience, real like felony level experience, or even federal experience. You know, I won't do anything either. Like, you know, I'm on paper for a while too. But I tell people, if I ever get locked up, like, actually don't get me a radical lawyer. Don't get me an activist lawyer right now, right? Because the level of experience ain't there. Go get me like one of those high paid lawyers, you know? And I think it depends where you're at and who you're connected to. But there's like a real, just like a real lack of experience. And I think like the lineage of radical lawyering has been cut off a lot since the 60s and the 70s, right? Like the people representing radicals in the 60s and 70s were coming from the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, like anti-lynching campaigns and, desegregation. And then over these past few decades, just like a real split there, a real lapse. So I don't know how to recover that, or
I'm hoping like your question we're in right now is what fires it up. Because now with the migrant stuff, the Palestine stuff, the Cop City stuff, like if this doesn't inspire someone to do something, I mean, we're fucked. We're fucked legally. Give me that public defender.
Who's completely overworked, right? Like completely over capacity, doesn't actually, like, even with the best of intention, doesn't have enough time to spend on your case, the resources, the help.
Even in just like the different court support stuff I've done, I've always thought that it would be wonderful for folks to just go do like a local court support, court watch, and then to like radicalize people, tell people what's actually going down in the courts every day. Because that'll radicalize someone. Just put them in your local county court for a day, and that might just radicalize 60% of the population.
Sometimes I think people think that we have to change the world as a whole, as opposed to like a person at a time. Mm-hmm. And if we can radicalize that one person in that one courtroom, who knows what they're capable of, who they'll inspire. Like, I think it's worth it to take the time, do the small things, do the court watch, do the cop watch, do whatever's available within your skill and spoon capacity. And like, that's how we build and grow it, brick by brick.
Steel sharpens steel. Ask if there was anything else you had, like before we flow, or final thought.
Like, I did a big critique a little bit ago because it's necessary, because we do not see that. And in the 60s and 70s, they were critiquing the shit out of each other. And by doing that, they pushed each other to get better because there was a desire to get better. Like the Black Panthers were calling out the Weather Underground. These other groups were challenging each other to do better. And I feel as if we lost that because we think we're doing good enough. We already have this egoism to where we see ourselves as we're pretty good. And I think we have the capacity to be great. I believe in anarchism. I believe in abolitionism. I believe in these communities. And like I said, I've traveled to a lot of places now, and I got a lot more on the horizon. I've been stunned by the beauty I've seen. Like, you roll into Sacramento, they care. They really care. You go to the Inland Empire in Cali, they care hard. Matt Hart out in LA cares. The whole LA ABC. And there's groups like that. There's Robcat in Maine. these people that are doing everything that they can within their power. I want to make sure that when I'm critiquing the movement, I'm also honoring it, that I wouldn't be here without those people. I would be still in prison probably or dead. We have the capacity to do it. And I know that because I see those who are. And they are doing things I could have never thought of. I would have never had the intuition to do. I would have never had the bravery to do if I hadn't seen them doing it. And we need to encourage that. We need to encourage people to look at Bloomington, to look at these areas and see, what can I do? Because like, we are strong and we have so much empathy and love. And that's all it takes to start. I don't remember what revolutionary it was that said like, every revolution starts with love. And that's why I keep harping to you guys. It all starts from there. It starts from joy. It starts from being together. Emma Goldman didn't want to have a revolution if she couldn't dance. And that's a metaphor for, if I don't have joy, what are we doing? And I hold that sacred, and I hold all of our comrades sacred. And please write someone inside, I beg of you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode with Eric King. Please check the description to support the Dallas-Fort Worth folks, to get Eric King's new book, to get Rattling the Cage, and for more information on how to stay involved in abolitionist publications, Light in the Belly in the Mix, and where to stay up to date in Eric King's journey and with Bread and Rose.